Hey yo, everyone! Bungie's Marathon reboot has been all over the news lately for all of the wrong reasons. When it was announced that Bungie would be returning to one of the first games the studio ever developed, people were excited. Marathon was basically the franchise that put Bungie on the map, so revisiting it in 2025 with modern development tools and budgets was really an opportunity for Bungie to pay homage to their history. Plus, PlayStation has been pretty quiet for the last year or so when it comes to their first-party games. God, my PS5 really needs some love. Unfortunately, everything we've seen and heard about the game has been received with mixed to negative reviews. A lot of the problems that are popping up remind me of another failed Sony multiplayer shooter, Concord. So today, let's talk about the new Marathon game and if Sony and Bungie are on a collision course with history. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. We're getting closer to our 1,000 sub goal. Alright, let's get it. Alrighty, so let's begin with the original Marathon. Back in 1994, Bungie was just beginning to make its mark in the video game industry. They had some relative success with Pathways into Darkness, their Wolfenstein 3D inspired shooter, but it wasn't until Marathon released that Bungie really made a name for themselves. Marathon was originally meant to be a sequel to Pathways into Darkness, but soon evolved into an entirely different beast. Set in the far future, your character is an unnamed security officer aboard the spaceship known as Marathon. The Marathon is this massive ship that is being sent from Deimos, a Martian moon that humanity has colonized, to Tau Ceti, a new planet being targeted for human occupation. The story really begins when the ship is attacked and boarded by a group of aliens. With the help of your AI companion, your character must run and gun through the Marathon to unravel why the ship was attacked and by who. There's actually quite a bit to the story here. I'm genuinely kind of impressed. I've never actually played the game myself, but the plot sounds really interesting. The story unfolds via in-game crew logs, documents, and computer terminals. The gameplay is definitely a product of its time, but Marathon is highly regarded in video game history, maybe even more today than it was back at launch. Anyway, Marathon was a huge hit for Bungie. It was a Macintosh exclusive back in the day and was basically Apple's answer to Doom. Unfortunately for those Mac players, the success that Marathon generated inspired Bungie to port the sequel to Windows, where there was a much larger gaming audience. Mac users at the time felt betrayed and voiced their frustration with Bungie for leaving their platform for the competition, but it ended up being the correct decision for the company. Marathon 2 and the eventual Marathon 3 were huge commercial hits for them. After that, they decided to take the bones of that franchise and build something entirely new, which they would call Halo Combat Evolved. Halo would be a third-person shooter designed for Windows and Mac. They even had Steve Jobs announce the game during the 1999 Macworld Expo. However, between the 1999 Expo and the summer of 2000, Bungie would be bought out by Microsoft, who were cooking up their own home gaming console to compete with Sony and Nintendo. It was then announced that Halo would be a first-person shooter as well as Xbox exclusive, but we're not here to talk about Halo or the history of Bungie and Xbox, we're here to talk about Marathon. So now that we have an understanding of what the original Marathon was and its importance to the history of Bungie and video games, what can we expect from a brand spanking new interpretation of the franchise in 2025? Back in the May PlayStation Showcase of 2023, Bungie revealed their first new title since being acquired by Sony, a Marathon reboot. The announcement didn't reveal much, it was just a cinematic trailer, but it was visually striking and had fantastic music. I was instantly intrigued by this trailer, not gonna lie, it looked pretty sweet. Sadly, that excitement slowly withered away as more details about the game came out. Instead of being a story-driven single-player experience, Marathon 2025 would be an online multiplayer extraction shooter. The game would focus heavily on the PvP aspect and, of course, be pumped full of your typical live service elements. There is a story to the game, but it sounds like it's one of those things that will unravel with each new season. You know, something like a Marvel Rivals or Helldivers 2 or, of course, Destiny. The gameplay consists of 6 3-player teams that will load into each match. Your team will run and gun your way through this hazardous world and try to loot as much as possible before extracting. The longer you stay, the better and more rewards you can find, but it comes at a cost. If you fail to extract successfully, you'll lose all your progress. If you make it out, then you get to keep that stuff for upgrades, customizations, and even future matches. It sounds a lot like your typical looter shooter extraction game, kind of like a Tarkov, which is almost completely different from the original Marathon. So how the heck do we end up here? As of right now, it's unclear when the decision to make Marathon into a live service game happened. Sony has said in the past that they were hoping to release more live service games into their portfolio, so this very well could have been a decision from the higher ups. The game has been in development for at least 4 years now, but dealt with some setbacks when Sony laid off 17% of Bungie's staff in August of last year. I don't know how much that affected the work on the game, but Bungie decided to launch a closed alpha earlier this year anyway, and the results have been less than stellar. People really seem to enjoy the gunplay and art style, but the real meat and potatoes of the game appears to be lacking. The movement is kind of slow, the flow of the game is inconsistent, the actual content is relatively bare bones, and worst of all, it just seems boring. And to make it even worse, the game is going to cost $40 at launch. Is anyone else getting a sense of deja vu right now? Now, I'm not saying that Marathon is going to be the next Concord, but the similarities are quite eerie. A troubled development for a $40 live service game that no one seems to be asking for. Even if the gameplay is solid and the overall production is high quality, does Marathon have the appeal to a large enough base to suffice the live service cost of operations? I don't know that it does. Even fans of Bungie, the people who got their hands on the closed alpha, seem to be reluctant of Marathon. Some are even already asking for a delay. And I'm not super into conspiracy theories or anything, but Marathon has some real fishy development troubles behind the scenes. Enough that it's making me wonder if this thing has already gone off the rails and we, the general public, just don't know it yet. Earlier in May, a Scottish artist named Anti-Real posted online that Bungie had essentially stolen her art design for Marathon. And looking at this, yeah, it definitely looks like this could have been stolen. Which it turns out it was. According to the Washington Post, Bungie confirmed that someone on the development team had included Anti-Real's designs without her permission. Apparently, she was going to make a statement when Marathon was first revealed a few years back, but decided to give them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe it was just a coincidence. But when the alpha gameplay footage was released, it was impossible to deny that Marathon straight up took her designs and incorporated them into the game. I guess Bungie has reached out to Anti-Real since then and is working to make amends, but damn, not a good start for the game. On top of that, there's been a wave of rumors that Sony has quietly canceled their marketing campaign for Marathon. Now, this can mean a few different things. Maybe they're about to delay the game and needed to make sure they weren't going to be running ads for a product that won't be available quite yet. Or maybe they're just not that confident in the game and will quietly release it before shutting it down like they did with Concord. Or, and this is the most extreme outcome of all, they're just going to scrap the whole thing. Cancel the marketing, cancel the game, move on to Destiny 3 or whatever else Bungie is cooking up behind the scenes. Now, I'm not saying any of this will happen or is even likely to happen. After all, this is just speculation based on some industry leaks and rumors. But the fact still remains, who even wants Marathon? The alpha had poor reception, the game supposedly is built using stolen art, and there are even reports that morale within Bungie is at an all-time low. If the game isn't delayed to address some of its obvious concerns that the alpha brought up, then is Marathon basically just being sent out there to die? Is this not almost exactly a repeat of Concord? Sony reportedly spent around $400 million on Concord, and they still shut it down days after its launch. Maybe they're seeing the same patterns unfold with Marathon and are trying to get ahead of it. I mean, canceling your marketing is definitely one way to cut down on development costs. And if we want to put the tinfoil hat back on, Sony has recently canceled a bunch of other live service games that were in development. Maybe this is them shifting away from live service games and going back to their single player franchises. I don't know. I almost feel as if it's a ticking time bomb. Marathon could already be dead and we just don't even know it yet. I guess only time will tell. So until then, I want to hear from you guys. Bit of a shorter, chill video this week. I'm trying to get my hands on a Switch too. But what are your thoughts on the Marathon reboot? Do you think it's looking like a repeat of Concord? Do you think Sony will release the game on time, delay it, or maybe even cancel it completely? If you were able to snag a Switch 2, what are your thoughts? What do you think of Summer Game Fest and all of the showcases going on this week? It's a busy time for us gamers. I want to know all of your thoughts down below in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. It, of course, means a lot. I appreciate you guys as always, and I will catch you in the next one.